Hit me.
From Studio A in Arcata, behind the redwood curtain, it's time for...
Succotash.
Succotash Clips, the original comedy soundcast featuring snippets from comedy...
Soundcasts.
And here's your host from up the coast, practically unknown outside of comedy soundcasting, comedy soundcast soundcaster, Tyson Saner.
Saluton, estas me, Tyson Saner, your host, and that means you are my parasite. And we have a symbiotic relationship, don't we? Yep, that sounds as stupid out loud as it looks on paper, or on the screen of a computer, or device. It's early in the morning at the moment as I'm writing this, and I wonder how many other soundcasters are working on their soundcasts right now instead of sleeping, or fishing, or doing a paper route. If those things still exist. I know I had a few of them back in the day. And is it pronounced to rhyme with gout or boot? It's probably either, depending on where you're from and what you grew up hearing. Also, is either pronounced to rhyme with breather or hi there? I know how I say it. I imagine the same scenario applies as before with the word route. Or route. Either or either way, your route or route has led you here, to us, at Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast, and I am grateful for that. Welcome. I'm sorry this episode was a bit late. I usually aim for release on Fridays, but I only have 1 to 3 nights per week I can work on the show, and last week we had a power outage inflicted on us by Pacific Gas and Electric, or PG&E, as we say out here. Yes, I said inflicted, because it was purposely done by the company to help prevent fires during a windstorm we were having in California. There are folks who are probably still without power 5 days on from the event, and I consider myself fortunate that it was only slightly more than 24 hours with no power in my proverbial neck of the woods. Anyway, I've managed to put together some semblance of a show for you. And in this episode, I've got clips from Stuff You Should Know, Mostly Swingin', Two Old Queens, The Margaret Show, How Did This Get Played, and Athletico Mints. I've also got selected reading from our 100% fake sponsor with a 100% real website that is trumpoetry.com, and a special presentation of Bursts O' Durst from political humorist and raging moderate Will Durst. So, without further yammering from me, let's get to the content created by people far more talented than I. You know, I did a little digging and found that Will Durst has been contributing his Bursts O' Durst to Succotash the Comedy Soundcast since episode 7, which premiered on July 19th of 2011 and was still called Succotash the Comedy Podcast. I think that makes his burst the longest-running feature on the program now that Henderson's Pants hasn't been featured in more than a few episodes. He contributes every week, pretty much, without fail. I find that sort of dedication to craft admirable. Unfortunately, his bursts have been piling up as the weeks go by and Succotash episodes are published further apart, which is totally on me. So, this week, I've got a segment called Block O' Durst, which, in this current iteration, is 5 bursts in a row. Because why should you not get to hear the bursts because of my inability to put out a show with regularity? It's a rhetorical question. Beginning with one that I received on a Sunday, July 14th in 2019. This one, actually, I should have played this between a couple of the ones from last show, but somehow I skipped over it in my mail box, in my inbox. Somehow I skipped over it in my inbox. So, here he is. It's called The Greenwashing of the White House, in which our intrepid correspondent bellows politely over the greenwashing of the White House concerning the red versus the blue.
Hey guys, Will Durst here with a few choice words concerning the speech Donald Trump gave, claiming his administration has done more for the environment than any other presidency. No. This is crazy talk and cannot be allowed to continue. We have passed through the looking glass, people. Stop this man before he hurts himself and or us. The 45th President of the United States has been the single worst thing to happen to this planet's climate since an asteroid that killed all the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. He is to Mother Nature what alligators are to nests of baby ducks. This is the man who pulled us out of the Paris Accords, stripped scientific climate data from government websites, rolled back over 80 Obama-era environmental regulations, and called climate change nothing but a Chinese hoax. His first director of the Environmental Protection Agency was an oil lobbyist, and the new guy was a coal lobbyist. You can't make stuff up like this. It's the Environmental Protection Agency, not the Environmental Pillage and Plunder Agency. If it meant doing his buddies in the fossil fuel industry a favor, he would gladly open up drilling in the Arctic, in Central Park, and on his daughter's forehead. Well, Tiffany, anyway. Donald Trump promoting the environment is like an avalanche petitioning for trees. Like the demon barber of Fleet Street using customer testimonials. Like William Barr talking about justice. And why the 180-degree vertebrae snapping churn with this attempted greenwashing of the White House? Very simple. Red versus blue. It's all about the election. Someone must have told the president that the kids consider the environment a major issue, and his regressive policies and ludicrous denials and stubborn refutation of science may have electoral consequences come next November. My God, imagine that. Actual consequences. Nah, never gonna happen. For Succotash, the comedy Soundcast, I'm Will Durst.
Next burst, from August 9th, 2019. Soft Tissue Racist, in which our intrepid correspondent jumps into the gun fray while still attempting to avoid turning into collateral damage.
Hey guys, Will Durst here with a few choice words about what a lousy summer it's been. We've been so busy sending our thoughts and prayers to Gilroy and El Paso and Dayton and even Toledo. There's hardly been any time for ice cream. A horrific spate of mass shootings has the country recoiling from any loud noise, and yes, that includes the strident denials of Donald Trump that his vitriolic rhetoric has anything to do with riling up the racist element often referred to as his base. In response, the president said, "I don't think my rhetoric is racist at all. As a matter of fact, I think my rhetoric brings people together." And he's right. It has proven to be quite effective in bringing white supremacists together with their weapons. Trump went on to blame video games and the internet and all sorts of things, somehow neglecting to mention the word guns ever at all. He claims the only answer to this spray of terror is his desperately needed immigration reform. He did, under intense pressure from vulnerable GOP congressional candidates, manage to mumble something about racism being bad. Of course, it would have been easier to understand if he had taken off his hood. The question is, how many people heard Donald Trump talking about hatred and mental illness being responsible for the madness and then screamed at the television, "You! That's you! You're talking about you!" He continues to claim that he doesn't have a racist bone in his body, so it must all be in his soft tissue, and that's a lot of soft tissue. Can't wait for the upcoming announcement by the president that there is no room in his administration for racists because all the slots have been filled by his family. For Succotash, the comedy Soundcast, I'm Will Durst.
Next up, from August 16th, 2019. Beat the Heat, in which our intrepid correspondent rouses from his wilted state to pound out a few words to curse the heat and urge it to stop.
Hey guys, Will Durst here with a few choice words about the heat. Because guess what? It's hot out there. And not just your normal summer hot. We're talking exponential factor hot. Record-breaking hot. As a matter of fact, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration declared that July 2019 was the hottest month recorded in the history of ever. We'll ignore the question of whether humans are responsible for heating up the globe like a test tube on a Bunsen burner with the gas spigot turned up full. Yes! Along with other questions such as, does the burning of fossil fuels bear any responsibility? You bet! Rather, we'll focus on the practical aspects of surviving these thermal extremes to augment our local television coverage of how to survive the heat wave. Come on, their advice is always earth-shatteringly predictable. Stay indoors, don't exert yourself, wear light-colored clothing, drink plenty of liquids. I mean, they might as well caution you to eat food, breathe air, walk upright. Because we here at Dursko care. Here's a couple of novel ideas on how you can stay cool while others swelter, with the top 10 ways to beat the heat in the hottest summer ever. Number 10, take a trip to the southern part of South America. It's winter there. Number 9, put your head in the freezer. No, really, do that. Number 8, subsist entirely on ice cream. Number 7, hang out in the shady parts of town. Number 6, ice cubes in your underwear. Scoff if you must, but it works. Number 5, meditate. Think cool thoughts. A gin and tonic might help. Number 4, eat frozen foods while still frozen. Number 3, sit in a sauna for 10 minutes every hour. Then the sultry will seem cool. Number 2, book a room in a hotel with a pool. Crank up the air. And the number 1 way to beat the heat in the hottest summer ever, 2 words, champagne popsicles. For Succotash, the comedy Soundcast, I'm Will Durst.
And then we have from August 29th, 2019, Labor Day 19, in which our intrepid correspondent shows a little love for the wallflower of holidays.
Hey guys, Will Durst here to say, are you kidding me? Labor Day? Already? How the hell did that happen? Didn't we just scrape down the Weber for the first summer barbecue on Memorial Day? Wasn't that like a week ago? No matter. Time to celebrate. The kids are back at school, and every NFL team is dreaming of the playoffs. So go out and party like we're getting a day off of work in order to celebrate what it is that we do for a living, because that's what this day is really about. Yeah, Labor Day is also the seasonal marker between summer and autumn, when we stow the swimsuits and flip-flops and pull out the parkas and galoshes. Storms go up, screens come down. The bright yin gives way to the dark yang. And as a holiday, it gets no respect, like a gym teacher substituting for an advanced honors biology class or an artichoke at a cookout. The name is part of the problem. Labor Day. Kind of a bummer when you think about it. After all, hard labor is a punishment, and any woman who has ever gone through childbirth will not wax ecstatic either. So unsexy, it should be wearing support hose. The people at Hallmark will never make a penny off the first Monday in September. But don't dismiss it. This holiday is a gift for everyone. From the masters of the stock market to the stock clerks at the corner market. Just one day off to relax. To sleep late and maybe meet up with friends and family for one last warm weather blowout, and then again maybe not. Do it up good or do nothing. Because this holiday is about the true American heroes. The ones who keep democracy alive and working and growing and stable. Who keep their heads down and continue to move forward trying to carve out a living in this crazy world. You know, you and me. Okay, mostly you. Happy Labor Day, everybody. For Succotash, the comedy Soundcast, I'm Will Durst.
And in the final burst, from September 5th, 2019, how they spent their summer vacation, in which our intrepid correspondent reports back on the various goings-on amidst our nation's movers and shakers over the summer.
Hey guys, Will Durst here, warning you to be on the alert starting the second week of September, because that's when the 116th Congress reconvenes from their summer recess. Hopefully their vacations refreshed them for the arduous 24 days of work scheduled between now and Thanksgiving. And through the combination of research grants and educated guesses, we here at Dursko were able to determine the recreational activities engaged in by America's movers and shakers these past couple of months, and are proud to present them here now. How they spent their summer vacations. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell learned another language. Unfortunately, it wasn't one whose vocabulary includes the word compromise. Vice President Joe Biden went to Switzerland for a charisma implant, but his system rejected it, and the donor died. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders held a series of mock debates with himself and lost every one. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren binge-watched all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones and didn't learn a thing. President Donald Trump managed to bring his golf handicap below his body temperature for the first time since contracting malaria. Not melania, malaria. Vice President Mike Pence spent most of his time being seen reading the Bible to his wife. Beto O'Rourke spent 3 weeks in physical therapy learning to talk with his hands stapled to the outside of his thighs. Wisconsin Congressman James Sensenbrenner bought a ticket on the Clue train. Donald Trump Jr. was sent on a summer-long snipe hunt by the White House staff. Mayor Pete Buttigieg baked a series of casseroles for the South Bend, Indiana Police Lodge's annual autumn potluck dinner. And finally, Melania, not malaria, Melania Trump wandered the Mediterranean, scoping out possible new daddies for Barron. For Succotash, the comedy soundcast, I'm Will Durst.
Now you can reach Will Durst at WILLDURST on Twitter, or you can go to willdurst.com for the Will Durst Journal, which is comedy for people who read or know someone who does. And by the way, you can go to www.willandwillie.com for the Will and Willie Show, which is Will Durst and Mayor Willie Brown. And it's www.willandwillie.com. And now for the first clip that I've nailed down, from a little soundcast called Stuff You Should Know. It's from Stuff Media, and it's hosted by Josh Clark and Charles W. Chuck Bryant. Its show description reads, if you've ever wanted to know about champagne, Satanism, the Stonewall Uprising, chaos theory, LSD, El Nino, true crime, and Rosa Parks, then look no further. Josh and Chuck have you covered. So the clip is from the episode from September 5th, 2019, called What's the Deal with MSG? And its episode description says, MSG got a bad rap in the 70s and 80s. But what is it exactly, and how bad is it for you? The answers to those questions lie within. Yeah, so I chose this clip because all my life I've heard that MSG was bad, almost all of it. Actually, in about, 10 or 15 years ago, I saw a program that dispelled it was meant to dispel the myths of MSG. It was hosted by Ted from Queer Eye for the Straight Guy and also of Chopped on the Food Channel. And, it made a lot of sense. It did a lot of the history on it, and I can't remember any of it, but I'm sure that a lot of it was touched on in this podcast, the ideas that were put forth. But it's always bugged me that the people think it's bad for you if it's not. And if it is bad for you, then I guess Alex Jones is right. But
So, Chuck, let me ask you, have you ever had nacho cheese Doritos?
Is that the original Dorito?
I don't know. I think it's possible taco flavor is the original, but for you and me as children of the 70s, 80s, I would say nacho cheese is the first one we probably ever ate. The red bag.
Sure. I'm a Cool Ranch guy.
I like it too. Actually, I like all Doritos. I don't really discriminate. So you have had nacho cheese Doritos?
Yes.
Have you ever had soy sauce?
Oh, I'm a big soy guy.
Okay.
I do not follow the sushi, what they say, how to eat sushi. I drown it.
Do you? I still use soy sauce, even though every time there's a weird little voice in my head that's like, you're not supposed to do that.
That voice is probably Yumi sitting next to you.
I say, no, it's really not, because she uses a little bit too, but I don't know what it is. It's not male, it's not female, it's just some weird disembodied voice. And I say, to heck with you, voice, I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah.
What about Maggi sauce? Have you ever had that?
Ooh, I don't think so.
Oh, I'll bet you have somewhere. It's kind of like a tall, slender brown bottle with a yellow label. Maggi, M-A-G-G-I.
I think I can picture it.
Okay, I'll bet you've had it. Anyway, if you've had all three of those or any one of those, what about Vegemite?
Oh, God, no.
Okay, I've had Vegemite. I'm not crazy for it, but we're not here to yuck anyone's yum, right?
Well, I'm going to throw one in because I see what you're doing now.
Okay.
Can I throw it in there?
Sure.
Have you ever used Accent? That is A-C, a little accent agu, I believe.
Sure.
C-E-N-T, that spice.
I don't know if I have. I know exactly what it is because I'm just so familiar with grocery stores, but I don't know if I've ever had it.
You're so familiar with grocery stores.
So familiar.
It's one of your talents.
I've got another one for you. You know Japanese mayonnaise, the Kewpie doll mayonnaise?
I have had that.
Okay.
We could do this all day.
What about oysters? You ever had oysters?
I love oysters.
Okay. Well, Chuck, listen. You have had MSG, monosodium glutamate, if you've eaten any one or all of those things.
That's right.
I love monosodium glutamate, also known as MSG. And the world does too. The world just doesn't know it because MSG, those three little words, those three little letters, have such a bad reputation, especially in the West, especially in America, that food manufacturers have come to basically bend over backwards to create new processes for creating MSG so that they can insert them into foods without having to say that there's MSG in the food, even though there's very much MSG in the food. But they know that a lot of Americans won't eat that food if they see that there's MSG in there.
That's right. And we will get to this in more detail, but it was such a bad thing at one point, especially in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Like I remember growing up and people talking about MSG in Chinese restaurants. And the whole time they were talking smack about Chinese restaurants, a lot of American families were just dumping that stuff all over their food via that little Accent spice bottle.
Yeah, Accent, any kind of processed food that has any sort of salty or savory kind of flavor to it. Like it's everywhere. It's in grape juice. It appears everywhere, naturally and added.
Because grape juice, what you want is a meaty, salty aftertaste.
Right. You're swishing the grape juice around your mouth. You're like, yeah, it's got a real oystery quality to it. I love it.
Are they natural in oysters? Is that the deal?
Yeah, oysters, clams. They MSG?
Yeah, I'm calling them a
MSGs?
they, like the little trio of...
Sure. Those three letters.
Yeah.
So the point is that people are terrified of MSG or really can't stand it. They say maybe it gives them all sorts of physical maladies. Perhaps they think it can lead to developmental disorders. And yet at the same time, they consume MSG every day without realizing it and without being affected by it. So it's entirely possible, and like you said, we'll talk about this much more in depth later, that the fear of MSG is a totally unfounded scientific panic that is basically a nocebo reaction to something that appears to be basically harmless to almost everybody who consumes it.
So you can reach out to Josh Clark at Josh Clark, but that is JOSH_UM_CLARK. You can reach out to Charles W. Chuck Bryant at Movie Crush Pod, which is at MOVIECRUSHPOD. And you can reach out to the show at capital S, capital Y, capital S, capital K, capital P, ODCAST. That is SYSK Podcast. And you can Google them, find them on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, places like that. Next up, Mostly Swinging. That is hosted by Don Most and Ethan Dettenmeyer. And there really isn't a description for this show on its page, but from listening to the first episode, I can say that jazz and jazz standards are discussed, and recordings of performances of jazz standards are played in the episode. The first song played as a segment in the first episode is Blue Skies by Irving Berlin, sung by Don Most, who has loved music that swings from a very young age, and whose album of music, also titled Mostly Swinging, can be found on iTunes. Ethan Dettenmeyer of Combat Radio, who founded BrigadeRadio1.org, is the co-host of this episode. I have not listened to the next episodes of Mostly Swinging, so I cannot report as to whether or not Ethan is the regular co-host. That and the aforementioned lack of description on the page. So this clip is from episode 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, live from the Brigade Radio 1 studios in beautiful Burbank, California, it's time for Mostly Swinging with your favorite, Don Most. Welcome, Don.
Thank you, Ethan. What a pleasure to be here for my first show. Thank you for the introduction. As soon as I get the hang of this, maybe I'll be doing my own intro, but I wanted you here for our first show, and thank you.
It's a privilege to be here. It's the premiere show of Mostly Swinging. You know, we're big fans of yours, as I would say anyone with any kind of musical taste would be, and it's going to be exciting for us because not only are you a fantastic musician and people know you as your acting work, but your musical chops are world-renowned. So this is a good opportunity to introduce your music, but also the music that inspired generations to a whole new audience. So this is our kind of show, buddy.
So great to hear that, and thank you for the opportunity because, yes, this music is so incredible. It's what I grew up loving from the time I was very young, and you know, for a while it had kind of, I don't want to say disappeared, but it had a falling off when I was doing Happy Days in the 70s and 80s, and I would have loved to have done this then, and it was very difficult because this music I don't know, I guess because the rock thing there was such a renaissance with rock and roll in the 60s and disco. And so this music was looked on as a little bit like, oh, well, that's your parents' music. And you couldn't be associated with that. But then thankfully, I mean, something that these songs are standards, as I will say in my show, for a reason, because they stand the test of time. And that's why people came back to it. And I have to, we owe a lot of gratitude to people like, Diana Krall and Harry Connick and the people who kind of brought it back, and so many others, Bublé, who of course who's doing it a lot now. Even Rod Stewart has 5 or 6 albums of standards out, and there's a reason for it, because the songs were so wonderful in terms of their melody and the sophistication and wit and humor of the lyrics. And now I'm loving the fact that all generations are coming back to this music, young and old.
Why do you think? I was trying to give some thought as to why do you think it comes and goes? Because when you hear this music, or you hear Sinatra or Dean Martin, it's hard to believe that there was ever a time it was out of style with some people, because it's so awesome. Now, do you think it's maybe because the trends of rock and roll come at us kind of fast and furious, and then it's like a movie like, say, Goodfellas, that opens the first quarter of the movie with this kind of music, and
right.
people start to remember, like, that is good music. I mean, what is it?
Yeah, I think that's, you nailed it. And what I was alluding to earlier with, when in the 60s, when it was a real cultural revolution. So, I grew up, I was a teenager. I was in high school in the late 60s. And, so you wanted to sort of separate yourself from the previous generation and their values, because now it was the counterculture. So anything that was associated with them, you were rebelling against. So that's why the music reflected that. I think it took a while, and like you said, certain movies that would have a big impact on the general population, and then it was like, oh, well, that's kind of cool, because Scorsese used it in Goodfellas, and then it was in Swingers. I remember that movie Swingers with Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn, and they were going to these places listening to the swing music.
It is funny, because you make it out to be like it is kind of an anti-establishment move. Like, I can't like what my dad like. I can't
right.
listen to get into his old Sinatra records, but
right.
It is funny. I'm sure. Now that I think about it, in my days at Warner Brothers in feature development, it would have been impossible for a music supervisor based on that studio lot to do a movie about Vegas without pulling Sinatra out for the director to hear it.
Right.
I would almost think that you could get your fingers cut off if
right.
you tried that. Like,
right.
well, we're not going to do any Sinatra, Dean Martin. It'd be like a crime against humanity.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I'm so thrilled that I'm getting. See, I started out. You know this because I did your show a while ago. But people know me from Happy Days and other acting roles. But I started out singing when I was very young. I was 15 years old, singing in the Catskill Mountains, where a Rat Pack kind of. You'd see that kind of stuff up there in the Borscht Belt, all those hotels. And I was doing it when I was 15, and that's what. I was a huge fan of Sinatra and Dino and Nat King Cole, and my main guy was Darren. I was a huge Bobby Darin fan, who I actually saw at the Copacabana in New York when I was 18 years old, and never forget that. So I decided to go back to doing this when this music started coming back into favor, and it was like, hey, if I'm ever going to do it, I better do it now, because I'm not 20 years old anymore, but this seems to be the perfect time for me. So I'm doing shows, all around the country. Have a CD out now called Mostly Swinging, and with big band, great arrangements, and the music is just so infectious, and I'm really excited about the chance to talk about it and play some of it. As in addition, all my influences, the people that I grew up loving and who influenced the music I'm doing now.
You can reach out to Don Most on Twitter at most_Don, that is MOST_DON. You can reach out to Ethan Dettenmeyer at Combat Radio, that is capital COMBAT, capital RADIO. And you can find brigaderadio1.org, where all these shows can be found. Many, many, many shows. At www.brigaderadio.org. And coming in at number 3, it's Two Old Queens by John Flynn and Marc Rennie. The show description reads, "They're old. They're queens. There's 2 of them. It's Two Old Queens." Join Marc Rennie and John Flynn as they search for the gayest movie ever made. Using a Byzantine ranking system, their own hard opinions, and some inevitable controversies from a stacked lineup of guests to come. This clip is from September 18th, 2019. It's Beetlejuice with Nicole Thurman. The episode description reads, "The delightful Nicole Thurman from Black Lady Sketch Show, Shrill, and The Opposition pops in to talk Tim Burton's Beetlejuice and comes up with one of our greatest scoring categories yet." In this clip, the group discusses their hunt for, quote, the gayest movie ever, unquote, and the, quote, top 5, unquote, they've come up with so far.
Now, Nicole, as you may or may not know, we are hunting for the gayest movie ever.
Really?
And we have an elaborate scoring system.
I didn't realize this had to be. You're looking for the biggest one.
We're
gayest.
looking for the biggest.
I mean, okay.
So we have a very elaborate scoring system. It's insane. It gets crazier every week. But so you were hoping maybe Beetlejuice will be the gayest movie ever.
It might turn out being the gayest movie.
I thought it was pretty gay.
It is pretty gay.
Well,
I was watching it with those through that lens, and I was like, okay, this is gay. It's pretty gay.
There's a lot. So I'll go through the top 5 just to give you a sense of where we're at
right
and
now.
This is the percentage of total possible points, because the number of points gets bigger every week, because you will be adding a scoring category as you see.
Okay.
As you see, as you hear, as you will know.
As you may know.
Okay.
Okay, coming in, our 5th gayest movie, Toy Soldiers. Anybody remember Toy Soldiers?
Is that with Phil Herman? No.
No. Small Soldiers.
That's Jingle
you're
All the
thinking
Way.
of.
Maybe. Oh,
Okay,
Small
I'm glad
Soldier.
they had Soldier. I thought I just came up with that out of nowhere. Toy Soldiers, what's that one?
Sean Astin, Military Boy
It's
Academy.
basically Die Hard, but in like a all-boys military school.
Oh, okay.
You think it'd be
That's
gayer?
number 5.
It's only a 41.10%.
Oh, okay.
Not very good. Number 4,
Okay.
The Kids Are All Right. Actual gay movie.
That's a very gay
Yes.
No
movie.
gay real people, though. 45%. Suspiria 2018, speaking of witches. 45.93%.
That movie had too many bones cracking for me. I was like,
Lot of
this is too
bones,
much.
lot of
That
cracking
scene,
bones.
oh my God. I was like, this is too many bones. I can't. Ooh,
You must
okay.
hate barbecue. It's all bones.
I do, actually.
9 to 5. Number 2, 58.94%.
Okay.
And then our number 1 gayest movie is The Muppets Take Manhattan, 66.17%. And that's still only a D.
That's still only a D.
Our best movie is a D. All right. So our first category is homoeroticism. So on a scale of 1 to 100.
We're all going to give a guess.
Okay,
And then
scale
it'll be the
1 to
average of the
100.
3 of us.
Okay.
So how homoerotic would you say
How
Beetlejuice
homoerotic?
is?
I don't think it's very homoerotic. I feel like Beetlejuice was super pervy towards women.
Absolutely.
And I don't
100%.
remember any, like, I remember him jumping on that guy's back, and he was like, hey,
Otho?
round boy.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something
Oh, right,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And
That's
I was
not
like,
homoerotic.
That's not really
No.
homoerotic. It was more like bullying.
That's bullying.
Like, he was a bully.
It's a fine line.
Beetle bully, more like. So I would say pretty low. What? Should I say any percent? Should say I'll say 30% just to give it
30?
something.
Okay.
But that's
Gonna
like
give it a 30.
Yeah,
30.
very low.
Yeah,
how homoerotic
I'm trying
did
to
you
think
find?
what would be homoerotic. I mean,
Yeah.
like Alec Baldwin, sort of. Although I think his casting is weird. He apparently said he doesn't like his performance in this movie at all.
I guess it's hard to buy him as like a Connecticut guy into like
He
a
does
craft
seem like,
home.
when you think about it, he does seem like a weird casting choice.
It's actually funny because I started to watch it again this morning just for funsies while I was getting ready, and I noticed in the first scene when they're kind of kissing, this is like not related, but when they're kissing, Gina Davis puts her hand on him in a way that says like, we are friends, but we are forced to kiss. And I was like, that's a weird choice. Like she's really not even, so it's like you can kind of see he's a little out of place in that.
Yeah, and I also I think Gina Davis is a really good actress, but I don't think she does like romance well. Like I think there's something about that doesn't.
Did you ever see The Fly?
I did not
did
see
she
the
do
fly.
Did she
Her
do it
and
well?
Jeff Goldblum?
Well, that's
Oh my God.
that's
Jeff
like two
Goldblum.
aliens. You know what I mean? Like in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think homoeroticism. It's really all on Baldwin's shoulders. I think of this one because it's not going to be not Jeffrey Jones unless you're a young boy.
Which one's Jeffrey Jones?
He's
The
like
dad.
the dad of the Winona Ryder's stepdad.
I always
think
think of
technically.
him as Ed Rooney, so I can't think
Yes.
of what his real name is.
Well, now you can
ever.
always think of him as a convicted pedophile.
Oh,
'Cause he's in
fun.
prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, You don't look at the face. I could have seen it. Okay.
Not surprising at
Wow,
all.
that's
No.
unfortunate.
It truly is. Open the jails.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'll probably give it a 20%.
20%. Okay.
20. Yeah. I don't think there's nothing there's nothing. I don't think there's nothing in here to make you horny. I guess it's Alec Baldwin. His pants at some points when he's running out of a room.
Sure.
You get a little like, oh, there's some nice cheeks.
Yeah, well, there's also
She's-
that
he's
like
the pants.
witch doctor, like at the very end, he's sort of like,
Oh, yeah.
he like doesn't have a shirt on. It's not too
The
bad.
one that sprinkles, and then he sprinkles stuff on his
Sprinkles the stuff
head.
on Beetlejuice's
So
head.
maybe there's something there.
I mean, we
A
are
little something.
digging.
We are
We're really
digging. We are digging.
Yeah,
but
there's really not a lot in that
That's the hunt
movie.
we're on.
I'm giving it a 15. Average
Okay.
of 21.67.
How did you? Are you have a computer? Or
Oh, I got an Excel sheet
right there.
Oh my god!
I
You
got
have a
it screen.
spreadsheet.
I
This
should
is
share
fabulous.
screenshots of this insane.
You really should. It's kind of.
spreadsheet.
It makes you look totally nuts, but I love it.
My brother made it. God bless you. Shout out to my granny. Okay,
amazing.
score of 1 to 100. Actual gay characters.
Are there
Okay.
any gay
Otho.
characters?
Otho, it's definitely gay.
Oh yeah, Otho.
Otho.
I loved- yeah, he's
also,
great.
Otho, to me as a child, I remember seeing Otho as a kid and thinking he was awesome. I
Yeah.
loved
He's
Otho
really
as
I
a
funny.
still
child.
think he is. Yeah, I thought he was
Yeah.
so pretty great. He's like doesn't give a shit. He's just like, let's remake this whole house. It's garbage.
He has a lot.
Yeah.
I was watching with my boyfriend, and he pointed out, like, Otho, even at the end, like, he has a lot of power. He's never denigrated for his sexuality.
not at all.
You know, he's like,
because I don't even
controlling
think of
the
it.
situation a lot. Like, he steals
Right,
the
he
book.
steals the book, he runs the seance.
Yes, he brings them back from the dead to the more dead.
He's funny.
The best part of that too is because his punishment from Beetlejuice at the end was they put him in a bad suit, and then he's like,
leisure suit.
"Oh!" I love that.
You can reach out to the guest Nicole Thurman at NICCOLETHURMAN. You can find Two Old Queens on Instagram and Twitter under @2OldQueens. That is TWOOLDQUEENS. You can find Marc Rennie at MARKRENNIE. John Flynn at JFLY9. And you can email them at twooldqueens@gmail.com. That is Two Old Queens spelled the same way I did before. Of course, you can find the show on Podbay, Podtail, Pod Paradise, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts, among other places. Pod Paradise. I haven't heard that one before.
This episode of Succotash is sponsored in part by TrumPoetry.com, a chronological ode to a fake muse. Enjoy a rhyming spin on the news of the day every day, as well as over 500 archived daily verses thoroughly covering the White House, America, and the world with a sticky caramel coating that's impossible to remove. That's TRUMPoetry.com. Everything you need to know in rhyming couplets. TrumPoetry.com.
Yes, it's trumpoetry.com. I tend to choose these fairly carefully. This one is from October 18th, 2019. It's number 461. Oh, Baltimore, you've lost a favored son. Sharecropper parents who were born of slaves, pursuing justice, not fearing making waves. But final challenges could not be outrun. Revealing truth and unifying factions, but never backing from a worthy fight. Put politics beneath his doing right. Solutions found in human interactions. To tweet attacks he sang a higher note. Did not engage in hateful rhetoric. But still he knew which ass deserved a kick. Sad he'll be missing the impeachment vote. The power of his faith his greatest shield. In heaven, still, this gentleman won't yield. Rest in peace, Elijah Eugene Cummings, January 18th, 1951, October 17th, 2019. And a second one, from October 6th, 2019, number 473. For his tactics, the man stands alone. Deflect, attack, cut to the bone. Counter-sue, blame and lie, don't explain or tell why. Like his mentor, that scumbag Roy Cohn.
Right? Right.
All right, back into the clippage. From Erios Network, The Margaret Cho. The show description says, through Margaret Cho's iconic work in comedy, fashion, music, and activism, she's developed deep, lasting friendships with, well, a bunch of famous people, while never losing her desire to search for and support the next big thing. On The Margaret Show, join her for a series of intimate interviews, a chat with a celebrity friend you already know or thought you did, or an up-and-coming artist you might not know but should. And the show description for Margaret Cho's website article from July 10th, 2019 says, have you heard? I have a podcast, The Margaret Show on Erios. And then in parentheses, it says, a badass woman-owned podcast network. Close parentheses. I really think it would be good for you to have my voice in your ear talking about all sorts of things while you clean your house or drive in soul-crushing traffic, says Margaret. Quote, it wouldn't just be me, but also my famous friends talking to you while you sort and fold and drive and bathe. Basically, we have a really interesting conversation, and in the end, we will all be better people with clean homes that we don't mind driving to and from. I am a big fan of all sorts of podcasts, and I thought it was about time to put my own hat into the ring. Each week, I interview people you know and people I think you should know if you don't already. Nice. Clip is from the episode from October 7th, 2019. It says, this week, Margaret talks with managing editor of Yahoo Music, Lindsay Parker. They talk about finding music before the internet and their love of Duran Duran's music videos. Then Margaret talks to Instagram sensation Ronald McDonkey about his genius celebrity collage mashups. Now, I listened to the entire episode and I really enjoyed the first part of it with Lindsay Parker. I do recommend listening to it. This clip contains an excerpt from Margaret's interview with Ronald McDonkey.
Today, we talk to Ronald McDonkey, also known at Ronald McDonkey on Instagram. He's all over my Instagram, and he's amazing. Now, I met you on Instagram making amazing Photoshops. What do you call it? Is it Photoshop? I think it's art. It's digital art. It's painting in a way. It's also photography in a way.
They're collages.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
of like
just twisted pop culture.
People, there's certain people that kind of seem to come up a lot, like the Golden Girls.
Yes, the Golden Girls. Well, my husband's in love with the Golden Girls.
Well, they're all great.
Yes. It's fun to put them in different scenarios, yeah?
Yes.
It's a great thing. I'm really happy doing it. It makes me laugh all the time.
I really laugh too. And it's a great thing to see, like, the juxtaposition is what's so funny, because you'll take something like, you know, the image of something that you know, and then you'll marry it with another image that is completely outside of the realm of like what's happening, and it really is funny.
It is funny. I swear I'm laughing all the time. There's so many things you can do. You know, it's endless.
Yeah.
There's no process to it. Like I just do it. You know, it's just I don't actually think about it when I'm doing it. It just happens.
Yeah.
You know, there's like I don't know. My iPad has like 40,000 photos, and I just kind of. I'm cleaning up things and looking at things, and it's just something comes to me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool, though. But, it's just like you said, it's just a weird juxtaposition that actually sometimes really works.
Works so well.
Yeah, sometimes not so well, but still it makes you think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It always is really entertaining, and it's kind of like, you think about, like, the different ways for somebody to take a photograph, and, like, actually, it's limited.
Yeah.
If you think about there's only really a few different postures that people really take pictures in.
Yes.
And then, so if you maybe cross-reference those with all of the images that are out there in the world, you can really actually, it's really funny.
Yeah, it is funny. And like the Golden Girls, you'll never see them another way except for, you know. It's, I just love the idea of seeing something totally different, you know, like Marilyn Monroe said, you know, you'll never see another live photo of her, you know.
Right.
Or a new photo shoot or whatever, unless they, you know. But it's cool to put her in a, you know, not necessarily her, but something like that into a strange scenario, you know?
Like, the images, especially, of there's certain people are finite, like whether it's the Golden Girls or Marilyn Monroe or, you know, somebody who's dead.
Yes.
Then it's like finite. Or capturing a certain age of somebody like Honey Boo Boo.
Honey Boo Boo.
Something like June. That. Yeah, or Mama June.
Yeah.
And then putting them into a context that is like, totally out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, but it could happen.
Yeah, it could happen.
It could happen in another dimension, another reality, you know? I constantly find myself thinking about, you know, silly things like that.
Yeah.
It never really, you know, if I do think about what I want to do, it never turns out the way I want it to, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like, it's like intuitively, like you just sort of feel it and like you just start making it and then it happens.
Yeah.
What was the first one that you ever did?
I think it was Jared Leto.
Oh, okay.
I put him in like a jockstrap.
Oh, cute.
It was cute. It actually was really cute. I don't know. I think it was Madonna, actually, the first one that actually reposted my art. But she didn't, you know, it was a strange situation because I think viral? Yeah, it went viral and it even made the news, you know?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like Madonna posts a flashback selfie of herself laying in a bathtub full of donuts. I'm like, really? Like, but it's interesting that that people actually thought that it might be real.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's sort of like the danger of deep fakes that people are upset about. Like, what could happen?
Yes.
You know, but it's like, well, we've had it with stuff like this, with like Photoshop. You could be able sort of like to do that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think, I really would have a hard time thinking that Madonna would ever lay in a bed of donuts or a bathtub full of donuts.
I re-looked at that recently, and it does kind of look real.
Like it looks real.
Yeah.
Like she might do that.
Yeah, just, for an ironic purpose or whatever.
I don't even think Madonna's ever eaten a donut.
Probably not.
I have a really hard time thinking that. Although during the Truth or Dare period, she did eat an awful lot of Mike and Ike's and hot tamales.
How do you know that?
Well, if you're watching the movie, you see the packages, and also she's picking it out of her teeth a lot.
Really?
It seems to be that I do remember that she was eating a lot, maybe lemon heads.
The Margaret Show is an Erios production. Its theme music is by Garrison Starr. So you can contact the show, Margaret at Erios.net. That is MARGARET at EARIOS.net. And then you can go to Erios.net, same spelling as before, and MargaretShow.com, also same spelling as before. You can reach out to Margaret Show on Twitter at MARGARETCHO, and Ronald McDonkey on Twitter at RONALDMCDONKEY. He's also on Instagram, though, and that's where you can see his collages, so I recommend you follow him both places, or if you just really want to see his collages, you can go to Instagram. You can also find The Margaret Show through iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, any place where fine podcasts are grown, processed, and eaten. Our next Soundcast clip is from Athletico Mince, from Bob Mortimer and Auntie Dawson. And this was recommended to me by Davian Dent of the Soundcast Strange Times and the Bitter Sound. Its show description reads, Bob Mortimer and Andy Dawson's podcast, Brass Hands, Blue Drink, and more. It's not really about football. Do you know what I mean? Let me try that again. Brass Hands, Blue Drink, and more. Not really about football. Do you know what I mean? Okay. Yeah, I like that better. Anyway, this clip is from the show from July 1st, 2019. It's number 85. The show title is Excellent Humor, and the episode description says, Peter makes a hospital visit. Mark invites Steve round. We discuss biscuit etiquette. Roy launches a new game. DYCHE, Dyke, motivates. And there's new crime files.
Would you like a little bit of Scouse, or would you like a little bit of John Challis from Body Fools and Horses?
I'll take John Challis, please.
Marlene!
It's very good. Can I have the Scouse, or is that now unavailable?
No, you can have the Scouse, I suppose.
Go on, then.
Caroline, under the Anfield lights.
Very good.
There you are.
I mean, I'll always prefer only Foals.
Yeah.
I'm knocking on
I might not
bit.
offer you the choice again, but there we are, that's it then.
Can I thank you for your recommendation of that diving show? Diving movie?
I haven't watched it yet. Was it good?
Oh, he's fantastic.
I was only told that someone said it was good.
Do you know what it's called?
Forgot.
I couldn't remember. Is it Life for a Breath or Breath Underwater?
Was it BBC iPlayer, was it?
No, I didn't see it there. I saw it on Netflix, I think. Definitely Netflix. Life Near Death, Breathing Life. Anyway, it's absolutely terrific.
Last Breath,
as Tony the Tiger would say.
While we're chatting. Is that Roy Hodgson outside there?
Oh, shit, it is. It's Roy, yeah.
Oh, right. I'll tell you what. I'll go and let him in. See what
Thank
he's
you.
up to.
Oh, there.
Hey, Roy. Come in.
Hey, Roy.
Thank you. Thank you. I see you've gained some weight, you lumbering little loaf.
Oh, yeah. All right, Roy. There's no need for that. Come on.
Oh, yeah. You want some as well, do you, Grandad?
All right. What have you been up to since the season ended then, Roy?
Oh, planning mainly. This time of year is about the development and execution of plans for my future. It's something in which I excel.
Oh, right, I see. What, the planning shape of your squad, new signings, that kind of thing?
No, I'm on the brink of launching a brand new tabletop military strategy game with a medieval fantasy theme.
Well, be honest, Roy, it sounds a little bit like Warhammer.
No, it's nothing like that. For one thing, the name is completely different.
Oh, yeah, what's it called?
Royhammer.
So, Royhammer.
Royhammer. Royhammer.
Royhammer.
Royhammer.
Royhammer.
It's not hard. Royhammer.
Oh.
Say it.
Okay, Royhammer.
Yeah.
You say tabletop's military game, fantasy, medieval fantasy theme, but that's what Warhammer is, isn't it?
No, this is a totally different and unique and better game. The other game, the name of which I refuse to say.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. That game is usually played on a flat 6 foot by 4 foot surface. My game, Warhammer, is played on a flat 7 foot by 5 foot surface. So I think you'll agree the two games bear no resemblance to each other whatsoever.
Oh, all right, Roy. So what about the armies in Warhammer? What are they called?
They're called the Red Devils, the Cockney Pricks, the Scousers, the Foreigners, and miscellaneous arseholes.
All right, okay. Are they all are they good, or all good, or all evil?
Evil, all of them, pure evil. There's only one good army in Warhammer. That's the Zaha Warriors.
Ah, named after your player, Wilfred Zaha, I assume.
It might be, yeah, might be.
Hang on, is this whole Warhammer thing?
Warhammer.
All right. Is it just an elaborate ruse to try and persuade Zaha not to leave Palace this summer?
A ruse? A ruse? I don't know what you mean.
Come on, Roy, it is, isn't it? You don't want Zaha to sign for another club, so you've come up with a new game named specially after him.
Oh, maybe it's named after me, not after him. The army's named after him. You've been paying attention?
But, well, all right, I wish you the very best of luck with it, Roy, I suppose I should say that.
I don't care about your wishes. You cannot control me. I've had enough of this. Your ruse accusation was a step in the wrong direction. I'm off.
Hold on, ruse.
Ruse,
yeah.
Anyway, stop trying to placate me. I'm going.
All right, see you around, Roy. Warhammer. So?
Can't say that taken off, can you? Roy Hammer.
He's going round all the stations, isn't he?
Probably.
Trying to
He's
flog
popped in here. Is this a station now?
It's clearly the same game, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can find Bob Mortimer on Twitter at RealBobMortimer. That is RealBobMortimer. Andy Dawson at ProfanitySwan. It's ProfanitySwan. The show can be reached at Athletico Mince. That is capital ATHLETICO, capital MINCE. And you can also find it on iTunes, SoundCast, and Acast. That is capital ACAST. And of course, you can go to www.athleticomince.com. ATHLETICOMINCE.com. And finally, it's How Did This Get Played? From Earwolf. The show description says, Heather Ann Campbell and Nick Weiger love video games. Together, they're playing the very worst and weirdest games ever made with their funniest friends to get down to this fundamental question, how did this get played? Finally, another show about video games that I can get into. And I have listened to pretty much every episode of this show. The clip is from the episode from August 11th, 2019, called Night Trap with Christine Nangle. And in the episode description, Christine Nangle, from The Break with Michelle Wolf, joins Nick and Heather to discuss controversial 90s FMV game, Night Trap. Night Trap. They talk about sleepovers, how the game's controversial nature led to a U.S. Senate hearing, real ghosts, and more. Now, I chose this clip because I remember playing Night Trap. I think a friend of mine had it for the TurboGrafx, I believe it was. I think. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure on that. You know, actually now it might have been like a Sega Saturn that got rented. I don't know. Either way, I'm sure I would enjoy playing this now. I don't think I could get into the spirit of it at the time, although, you know, I'm not sure. I just really don't remember. I do remember being fascinated by the idea of it. I remember thinking it was really cool that Dana Plato from Different Strokes was in it, rest in peace. So yeah, here's a clip.
Guys, can I read the lyrics to the Night Trap theme song, please?
Yes.
Can I wish we had like...
I have the song.
Maybe
Can we play a little more of the song?
Yeah.
The song's a banger.
I wonder if there's a place you could karaoke this. To booze.
It's kind of a sound-alike to Lionel Richie's All Night Long. It's because it's got elements in common.
It's a great song. Night Trap. Night Trap. Night Trap.
But they are lip syncing this song at a party The world is insane. Yeah. They know that Night Trap. This is like a hit song. In their world, but it's also a product. Imagine if like Coca-Cola was somebody's favorite song.
All right, that's enough.
Show was on before Night Court.
Well, they were trapping everybody.
You get caught in a trap, and then you end up in Night Court.
They warn. The song warns the singers, "Watch out behind you.
Yes,
that boy will find you."
Right.
Jeez, it's in the song.
There are augers in the house, and they have weird trash pickup weapons that they're going to use to squeeze your necks.
Also, what do you think of the lyric, "Thoughts are down when darkness falls"?
I mean, that's kind of my internal monologue. Yeah. It's kind of beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking about the horniness aspect of this, and like it does feel like I think I don't know what age group this is geared towards, but it's definitely geared towards guys. And I think it's like when guys watch these movies where there's like teenagers that are in danger, they probably there's probably especially like younger guys like I would have saved her. Like I could have done that. Like I would have been like, it's like a fantasy of like being able to save this girl and then she like is in love with you or whatever. And this lets you play that out where it's like a girl looking to you and be like, you have to save us. Right. And you're able to, and she's like, especially later when there's a teen girl in a negligee or whatever. Yes. It's like, you're like, I can help her. And it allows like that kind of fantasy play.
Well, the end game is, which is when Kelly is the final girl, and it's like kind of like it is like what you're saying. It's like a man being able to insert himself into a horror trope where it's like she, instead of being able to fend off the Martins by herself, she turns to you and is like, help me, and then you have to trigger traps to save her.
Even though she has a gun.
Even though she is supposed to be a highly trained member of the scat force. So the girls go upstairs after the dance party. They see an auger for the first time, but Sarah, the daughter, assures them that it's nothing. And then another scat agent shows up. This is Agent Collins, the token black agent, and he, is not given a fun task here. Can we play Matt? Can we play a little bit of Agent Collins' entrance?
Yes. Here we go.
This is how he gets into the house. To help out.
Nothing, Chief. Just no heroics, huh? Count on it. I think we should give him the old Jamaican number, huh, Chief? And out.
All right, we can stop it there. And then we can skip ahead to what he means by the old Jamaican number. He is dressed in a loud print shirt and a newsboy cap.
Here he comes.
Hello. So sorry to disturb you like this. So sorry to barge in. But I was wondering if maybe you had seen my boat.
Your boat?
My boat. Boat! Oh!
He's wearing a shirt that has pies on it?
I was going to say his outfit's on point. He looks cool. He looks great. Collins looks great.
But this is
the wardrobe is not the issue.
Yeah.
End this, please. End this.
Not a fun acting task for that guy.
No, that's
He also
awful.
uses the word, are you jiving me later?
Oh, yeah, later he does, yeah. He was probably was at the Steppenwolf Theater or something like that. And they're just like, oh, hey, with the Sega CD game, fuck it, I'll do it.
Not even. He filmed this on film for Hasbro.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah. This was going to be huge.
It wasn't even a video game.
Right.
They were like inventing a VHS technology.
Right.
So he was like, I gotta take this gig.
By the way, speaking of Hasbro, little factoid about the augers. The reason they even exist is that they were originally just vampires, which is like a lot more clear. But Hasbro was worried about that being too dark, so it forced them to change it. And I think it actually made it more like darker, right?
Yeah, when they explain what the augers are, that's super dark.
Right. They're like half vampires. They're like half human, half vampires who have been drained of most of their blood, and so they're just trying to survive.
And their skin has like fallen off.
Yeah, their skin has fallen off.
Yeah,
so that's why they have to be covered in this Metal Gear Solid cosplay.
In all of my playthroughs, I never heard what the augers were.
Right. Well, this is the thing. Again, another frustration of this game. To get the story, you really just have to watch a video of the story elements. Because if you try to play the game and pick up the story as you go, I mean, I don't know how many playthroughs you'd have to do successfully to actually get enough of the cutscenes to piece it all together.
So you can reach the guest, Christine Nengle, at Nenglish on Twitter. That is Nanglish. Heather Ann Campbell can be reached at HeatherCampbell. Nick Weiger can be reached at NickWiger. And the show can be reached at HDTGP Pod. I should say that it is capital H, capital D, capital T, capital G, capital P, small p, O-D. How did this get played, Pod? But it's actually HG. HDTGP Pod. P-Pod. And, of course, you can find them on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, probably Podbay, and Earwolf. Well, there it is. Another show gone, and here we are together at the end of it. Will you be here at the end of show 200 to say goodbye to us for a while? Tweet us at Succotash Show with your answer. That is SUCCOTASHSHOW. I'm serious. Also, seriously, anything can happen between now and episode 200. We could get a real paying sponsor, for instance. One could dream. In the meantime, hug your loved ones, because as Kanye West and Adam Levine said, nothing's ever promised tomorrow today. And I heard him say, nothing's ever promised tomorrow today, but we'll find a way. And nothing lasts forever, but be honest, babe. It hurts, but it may be the only way. So until the next episode, this has been Tyson Saner, asking on behalf of Marc Hershon, Bill Haywatt, Joe Paulino, Will Durst, and Scott Carvey. If you enjoy this program, and the ones that came before it, please share it with others, perhaps by way of leaving a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, or Stitcher, or anywhere you can leave a review would be appreciated. Also, retweeting our links on Twitter is a big help, and would be much appreciated. Those are just some of the ways you can show your support of us in a way that doesn't cost you a dime. And it's at least partially what we mean when we ask you to please pass the Succotash.
You've been listening to Succotash Clips, the comedy soundcast with your host, Tyson Saner. Brought to you by Henderson's Pants and... Imagine your company's name right here. Find us on the web at succotashshow.com, on iTunes, on Stitcher Smart Radio, on SoundCloud, on YouTube, on Dunder, on Blitzen, on iHeartRadio, and on a laughable app. You can hear us streaming and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Succotash Show. Email us at TysonSaner@succotashshow.com. Or call into the Succotash hotline at our toll call number, 818-921-7212.
That number again is 818-921-7212.
You can also upload clips from your favorite comedy soundcasts directly to us by using our direct upload link at hightail.com/u/Succotash. Production of Succotash is overseen by Joe Paulino through the auspices of Studio P Sausalito, hosted by Tyson Saner. Our executive producer is Marc Hershon. Our musical director is Scott Carvey. Our booth assistant is Kenny Durges. Until next time, I'm your loyal booth announcer, Bill Haywatt, reminding you to please pass the Succotash. Goodbye.